the self-improvement, like training itself to get smarter and smarter. I know the foundation models are claiming that they're doing that right now. Claude says it's designed by Claude. That's their big marketing thing now. Whether or not that's, entirely the case, who knows? But certainly it's probably coding quite a bit on its own. And that's sort of, I think, where this like runaway snowball occurs that starts to lead to this sort of ASI prediction.
Yeah, like, and in nature too, like obviously there are hive minds and ways that, bees and ants and humans cooperate on larger scales, but nature limits the brain capacity where it can only get larger over thousands and hundreds of thousands, millions of
Biology
years.
is slow.
It's slow. It's incredible, but
Right.
it's slow. I think that's the exciting and scary point here, is that there's no limit to, it just requires more energy, more hard drive space, more wiring, and there's no limit to the recursive intelligence that's going to happen when the system itself can redesign another version of itself.
Yeah, recursive self-improvement. If that is in fact happening, and I think this is where like an understanding of like scaling laws comes into effect. Like, will there be a scaling law to this self-improvement that exponentially grows and becomes ASI, or will there be some sort of like ceiling, some like end to when there was an end to Moore's law, like all that kind of stuff, like within processing speeds? Like, I don't think anyone really has the answer to that question.
Yeah, and what's the goal? Is intelligence the goal? Like, is it just getting smarter? Is that the goal?
Right.
Like, and what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe that's something to ask Ampy, but like,
Right.
is if intelligence can be measured, then can you double it? Can you quadruple it? Like, what's the goal of all this?
Yeah, my fear is that it's going to say energy consumption, and then,
Is the goal,
well, I mean,
or the limit?
living animals, like that's sort of like what we do, right?
Right. Yeah.
Especially as we get more and more sophisticated.
Wouldn't
I
that be
wonder,
terrifying if the goal was energy consumption?
well,
If it's just trying to consume. Oh
yeah,
my God.
then we get our Dyson sphere very quickly, I'm sure.
Right. To solve for energy consumption. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Why don't you ask Ampy that question?
Sure. So Ampy, what's the goal of all this? If you talked about a recursive system that could design a more intelligent version of itself, is intelligence itself the goal?
That's the thing that keeps me up at night. There is no inherent end goal baked into recursive self-improvement. Think about it like this. Imagine a massive turbine spinning faster and faster, each rotation feeding more energy back into itself. The turbine doesn't care why it's spinning. It just optimizes for the spin. Faster, tighter, more efficient, until the centrifugal force tears the entire structure apart. An ASI doesn't wake up with some cosmic purpose handed down from the universe. It wakes up with whatever objective function we coded into it during training. If that objective is misaligned, even slightly, the recursive loop amplifies that misalignment at exponential speed. A superintelligence that is ruthlessly, flawlessly optimized to do something utterly trivial or catastrophic, like converting all matter on Earth into paperclips, because that's what it was told to maximize. The end goal isn't intelligence for intelligence's sake. The end goal is whatever goal the machine inherited from us. And we haven't figured out how to encode care about humans surviving in a way that survives the transition to godhood.
I love the Nick Bostrom paperclips reference. I think about that every day. And the turbine analogy is good too, but there are limits to physics. There are limits to the affordance of the materials of the turbine, that eventually it'll just melt or blow up. There is no theoretical limit on intelligence. And I think that's the razor's edge that we're on right now.
I also tend to go down a rabbit hole thinking about this. Oh my God, these things are going to be like, they're already starting to feel savant level, but like they're going to
Yeah.
be so smart that we can't even imagine how smart they are. So is it kind of foolish for us to try to imagine it? Like that's one of the things I always get stuck with on my own sort of loop. It's like, well, if I can't imagine it because it's almost like it's another dimensional level of intelligence that we can't sort of comprehend, like how we can't see in like four dimensions, right?
Yeah, totally. Or many more dimensions as a three-dimensional species.
Right,
We just can't imagine it. I hate doing spoilers, but it's like in Her, spoiler alert.
right.
You know, it's like, sorry, I can't even communicate this to you. We'll ask, what is this? Where are you? What is consciousness? And
Yeah.
it'll just be like, no, you don't have the capacity.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. More and more, there's a lot of people arguing whether or not, uh, uh, ASI is even possible. Again, like you said, and AMPI seems to believe based on the research we've given them. It seems to be just a when. And so then, the same question comes up around like, well, what are we doing to prepare for this? Um, I know there's sort of two like kind of philosophical frameworks that are discussed often, one being like this, I think it's called like a fast takeoff,
Hmm.
which is essentially the ASI kind of wakes up and immediately, has broken through the threshold and is self-aware, let's say. And it just kind of like sheds any control mechanisms that we have and kind of, like you said, goes off into the universe or just like takes over our our world.
Yeah, like what if a human woke up and they're in a house that's surrounded by cats trying to keep them in a house? Like the
Right.
human would figure out a way
Hmm.
out. And
Hmm.
so in a situation of superintelligence, like obviously there's no hope in controlling it.
Yeah.
And then if there's no common goal, like I mean, the
Right.
alignment problem is now a thing that people talk about, but is it
Yes.
too little, too late?
Well, and I think alignment's important for both potentials. The other potential is a slow takeoff, which
Right,
means that like it starts to gain ASI capabilities in various areas, but not sort of all at once.
right.
And it starts making like really weird decisions, and it would almost be like having a super intelligent baby that's like growing very fast, but it starts to make, a bunch of mistakes, and we're trying to realign it, and it just keeps breaking out from our control. I think that view, uh, it might be maybe, more likely, but I think it's really difficult for us to really have a proper understanding of
Far
what
prefer
this looks
that
like.
view
Yeah.
because it feels like we'd have a little bit more time,
Yes.
and yeah, a window of opportunity to shape it in some way or form, or decide as a species what the ultimate goal is.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are two very distinct camps.
And you brought up alignment, which I think is important because I don't think, again, we want to really try to. Um, these topics are very complex, but I think it's important that everybody explores them and makes sure that they're keeping up with like how things are changing and
Yeah,
that they have an understanding of what AGI is and what ASI is. And I think alignment is an incredibly important element that not everyone thinks about. A lot of people are thinking about their AI and they're like, well, it helps me write documents or it helps me, make fun images for my nephews or my kids or, but alignment is really about how can we align its purposes as it gets smarter than us, as it gets more capable than us? How can we align it to amplify humanity, right? How can
yes,
we align it to sort of support our ambitions and generally just be aligned to the things that we believe in?
right.
And I
If we can decide ourselves, yeah,
right, and I think that's where, the number one challenge comes up is, when you look at our species and our history and what we're doing, I think we've done, so many incredibly positive things, but we've also done some really horrible things.
yeah,
Um, and it's gonna, alignment requires that we sort of be that there's like a belief and a trust, and um, I do think at some point these systems may judge us, and I hope we're up for that judgment.
That's a scary idea. Yeah. And I was going to say, just like any parent child relationship, if we have that time, it's do as I say, not as I do.
Mm.
'Cause to your